From the News Channel 5 Network, this is OpenLine.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to OpenLine. Glad you are with us tonight. Always glad to have our next guest on. We are talking with Tim Takacs about elder law, and he really helps explain some legal things to us and helps a lot of people as they work through caring for an aging loved one or preparing to age themselves. So that's kind of gives you a sense of what elder law is, but this is a great opportunity for you to call in, share your story, and ask some questions. And Tim Takacs joins us via Zoom. Tim, thank you for being here.
Absolutely. Great to be here, Ben. Hope everybody out there is doing well.
Absolutely. Hope everybody out there is doing well. And I always like to start with define elder law. So you're an attorney and you're here to help people, answer certain questions, that kind of thing. Define elder law. What is it that we're talking about?
Back in when I started practicing law, I did general practice of law, and elder law did not exist. But I did wills, powers of attorney, estate plans, and a lot of that is what elder law attorneys do. We do estate planning, traditional estate planning. But most traditional estate planning really deals with what happens to people when they die. You die, where does your money, where does your property go, some of those things like that. Elder law is really more concerned about the living client, specifically the aging living client, or in many cases we'll be doing planning for say maybe a person who's under 65 who has special needs, those sorts of things. So that's a lot of sort of the short version of elder law. And as you mentioned, Ben, at the top, that we help people take care of their parents. We help people take care of their spouses. We help people take care of themselves as they age. That's really what we do, as elder law attorneys. So it kind of runs the gamut there.
What percentage of your clients, or let's talk about some of your clients that are, they have an aging parent. And what do? Do they come into you and they say, I've got an aging parent, maybe they live in another state, I've got concerns, how do I work through this? What are some of the questions they ask and some of the things you're able to help?
That's absolutely, a lot of our representations begin just that way, where we have a family member that calls, as you mentioned, particularly it's often a child that's calling and saying, well, I've been a caregiver for my mother or my parents. We're talking about maybe the children who are in their maybe 50s, sometimes in the 60s, sometimes older than that, are calling and saying I'm a caregiver. Mom's got a diagnosis of Alzheimer's disease, and I'm concerned about how do I keep doing this? Do I have all our documents in place? I'm worried that if something happens to me, then what's going to happen to my mother? Because we don't have much of a support system. Because maybe I have my siblings are out of state, and they'll be like sometimes we say is they're cheering me on from the peanut gallery, but nonetheless, I'm here and they're not.
Right.
So that's a lot of what we talk about. We talk about finances. We say, well, the cost of care, which we typically talk about $8,000 to $9,000 a month for a nursing home, perhaps $4,000 or $5,000 for assisted living. But if you want to stay home and be cared for, the cost of having caregiver services typically runs about $250 to $300 a day, if not more. Maybe $25 an hour. If you're hiring people to come in. So, a lot of people are going, they can't afford that. We need other options. So then we have conversations about how do we pay for this. Sometimes what I say is, a lot of what our work is that we help people find, get, and pay for good care.
Right. That's critical. I mean, yeah.
That is critical.
One of the things we do talk about is the cost of nursing home care, and it's just outrageous. And then talk about care for somebody coming into your home on a daily basis. That's obviously expensive as well. But another question I like to ask as we kind of get started, here we are in February. What have you seen come into your office just in the last, couple of weeks? I don't know if it's seasonal. Is there anything you see at this time of year? What are some of...
We're starting, certainly we're starting after the holidays, we're starting to see more people coming in because historically we've seen that we start getting a little dip in people that are coming in, maybe starting in October and November, and then after the holidays, people are thinking, well, I guess we need to get our planning in place. What we're seeing certainly now is we're seeing people that are coming in, maybe have put off their estate planning. Some of our older people, we're doing a lot of what we call, help for people who are like maybe near aging or maybe in their 60s or early 70s, and they're worried about how to protect their money or property. So should they transfer their assets? Should they give their money to their children, or should they put it in a trust? Those sorts of things. We're certainly seeing a lot of people who are maybe in the early stages of needing long-term care, maybe living at home with maybe a mild, I call it a mild diagnosis, is really not the right word, but maybe are fairly functional, but they perceive or they really do need more help at home. And a lot of what that is certainly for our clients and the families is that the approach that we take is that can you live safely and securely in your home, because that's what our people want, and we try to figure out how to get it for them.
And I mean, you just discussed those prices for in-home care and for a nursing home, so naturally you are going to want people to stay in their homes as long as possible.
Right.
And how, in a brief sort of answer, how do you achieve that? I mean, if things are kind of lining up against you, what are some of the things that you're looking for to help achieve that?
A lot of what we're looking for is we're looking for what resources that are or could be available to the older person. Okay, so for instance, they're living in a house, they've got money in the bank, they've got Medicare, they've got Medicare supplemental insurance, they've got a pension, they've got Social Security and all those other things. And a lot of what we do is we help them, we help them wield those assets to support themselves wisely. I guess is some way, we do this every day. We have 2 elder care coordinators who are part of our team who have healthcare backgrounds. They're our non-lawyer healthcare professionals. They are very skilled. They're very experienced in working with all the facilities, and certainly with the home health agencies, the non-medical in-home health, assisting our families on, okay, how do you make sure that, how do you get the care that you need at home? Where's that coming from? What should you take it out of your IRA? Should you get it from your bank account or your CDs? Should you get a reverse mortgage? Should you get a line of credit on your house? Should you downsize? What all of those sorts of things to help help our older clients put together an appropriate plan for them.
And I love all of those questions. And that's the kind of thing we can talk about. And the other thing I enjoy with this show is having people call in, share their situation, and having you give some advice based on what people share about their situations. We have a few calls here. Let's go to Tony. Hello, Tony.
Hey, pretty good. How you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Yeah, the other lawyer show, is it Daniel or David Kennedy?
That's Kennedy. I don't know, Frank, right now. What's your question about this show? What's your question for this show?
I talked to him about, leaving wills, and the living will is just writing it out on a legal pad of paper, and signing it. And he said that's perfectly legitimate. So other TV show, it's on your channel with the younger lady. She doesn't work for you anymore, but she's a lawyer. And I think it's Daniel Kennedy or David Kennedy.
Yeah, Kennedy, right, and Amy Rao,
okay.
right?
So you know the person you work with. Okay, it's a good start. So anyway, so then after the living will thing, where you just write it out, you could just put it on a legal piece of paper. If you write, just regular writing, and it's clear and legible, and you sign it, it's actually legal. If you put it like in your safety deposit box. Most people, when they do that, they don't tell anybody about it. They just put it somewhere. It's called living will, and that's actually quite legal, I guess, if you date it and sign yourself, because they'd have to dispute it. Go on to the
All right, so what's your question about? It's about a will. Okay, now you have another question?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, thanks for jumping in there. The second thing is Florida and property. My dad, Ormond Beach, I used to hang out in Daytona, party all the time and stuff. You know, everybody did. Mostly Destin from here, but Daytona was my. And he was right in Ormond Beach, and he left me some property, me and my 3 brothers. So it's called like an inland coastal property. It's not on the beach, but you go off the beach like a half mile, and there's these little inlets. They're like it's industrial with whatever, like boat building and. I don't want to say sewage, but whatever they do over there, it's like stagnant water.
Yeah. So you got left some property in Florida, and they're 3 brothers?
Right. It's not great property, though. It's industrial, and nobody's been there for years. And any of my brothers, it's up for grabs. And there was a lady there that lived with my dad, sometimes in a trailer. She's gone now. We got her out of there. That's what Daniel, David, the other guy, got me to do, finally. But now the property doesn't seem like it's worth nothing.
And so what do you want to know?
I just want to know what I should do with it.
Okay, let's talk about that. All right, so he's talking about property that went to him. He's got 3 brothers. I almost forgot the other thing. The will. Okay, so what do you have to say here?
Well, Tony mentioned about, he called it a living will, and I'm not sure I would call a living will a will. There's a difference, which we can get into. But a will, basically what it does is that it is a legal document that you make that determines where your money and property goes when you die. And Ben, we've talked about this in the past. Like the shortest will that I can think of is that I've heard of is all to ma. All to ma. So I think so basically what happened is somebody died and they found a piece of paper, in the person's handwriting. And it was written, it said all to ma, and apparently the court said that is a valid will because they identified it as the person's handwriting. And so three words. Now, not that we don't necessarily recommend that, but if that's all you got, then maybe you could do that. Write it out. Write it out all in your own handwriting and sign and date it, and as long as it's just in your handwriting, that's okay.
That's all it takes. You don't need like all this fancy stuff. It could be that simple, which is the point.
It could be that simple.
Yeah, the caller was making, and that's the point you've made many times. All to ma.
All to ma. Right. Now, so Tony's got, all right, so he's got property that was apparently bequeathed to him and his brothers, that they own it in Florida, and he's going, well, what should I do with this? Well, obviously, since there are 3 owners of the property, then basically all 4 of the four owners have a right to say what happens to that property. So I would suggest to Tony to get with his brothers or his siblings and say, look, what do you guys want to do with the property? If any one of them wants to sell, then they have a right to do that. That person has a right to do that. Even if the other 3 say, no, this property, we're going to have climate change and it's going to be beach property someday or whatever, whatever they're going to say about it. But the idea is that all 4 owners have a right to say, I want to cash out, and they have a right to cash out.
And then they would divide the property by 4 among all 4, I guess, and the person would sell a fourth.
I'm going to assume that his father left it to them in 4 equal shares, and and so unless there was some estate, unless some will or estate plan to the contrary, then that's how it would go. So they would divide the money.
They would need to talk about, is this property more valuable all as one, or should they divide it up like that and sell it off individually? But I guess that could cause some family sort of discussions.
And it sounds like it's just like a small little parcel of property that really couldn't be divided.
Yeah.
So like, for instance, if Tony says, look, I'm here in, I'm here in Tennessee and I'm staying here. I'm not going back down there. I'm not doing anything else with Florida. And and if his brothers are down there or siblings are down there, they might say, well, we'll give you $5,000 for your share. So Tony says, okay, send a deed up here and I'll sign it.
Right. It could be like that.
That could be as simple as that.
All right.
So then his other brothers own it, and they can decide what they want to do with it.
All right. We have a call here from David. So hold on the line, David. Others, if you want to call in, there's the number, 615-737-PLUS, 615-737-7587. We will take a break. Come back right after this.